Welcome, everybody, to the Jim Masters Show Live Entertainment Lifestyle Talk Show Series. How's everybody doing today? It's good to see all your smiley faces. We welcome you to our show. If this is your first time joining us, this is an Entertainment Lifestyle Talk Show Series that we started about, I'd say, 450 episodes ago, live, and about 7 days a week. And this show here is really something else because we get a chance to really engage with our audience from all around the world. And I think that's really, really cool. We also have an opportunity to be interactive with our audience, which I also think is really cool. And we've done all these great episodes where we've had an opportunity to really celebrate folks from Broadway, Hollywood, television, film, music, stage, inspiration, comedy, sports, food, and just about everything in between. And of course, I do this work professionally in television and radio and multimedia as a TV and radio host and presenter, voiceover artist, journalist, actor, writer, producer, stage MC. Matter of fact, this Entertainment Lifestyle Talk Show series grew out of all of that background, and it's been cool. So it's good to see everybody here. We welcome you. We hope you guys are doing well. Feel free to comment if you'd like to during the course of the show. Of course, you're watching on our YouTube channel, so we would absolutely love it if you were to do something really special. You know what that is? Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you very much if you've done it. If you haven't, we welcome you to do that. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, click that notification bell so you never miss any of the amazing episodes we have, plus also our very special pop-up shows where I just pop up, and sometimes we have a host and viewer chat with viewers watching literally from all around the world. So we welcome you to do that as well. And also leave a comment on our YouTube channel. Give this episode a thumbs up and a like on our YouTube channel. We would love that. It really does help us as well to deliver more great episodes of JMS for you. And leave a comment underneath if you enjoy this episode as well. So it's really, really cool to have you guys here. We welcome everybody watching right now. And again, we always have a good time on the show. We always say the show has a lot of light, love, and levity. And we even throw in some levity because I said love and levity too fast a year ago. And the rest is history. So it's been amazing. Our guest is coming to us from Las Vegas, Nevada, where he was born and raised and has resided, says, for about 40 plus years. And I'm talking about the prolific author, R.A. Revis, author of the Dark Times saga, The Black Forest. Now, we're really excited to welcome him to the show because this is a riveting book. You're going to find this book incredibly page-turning. It's a tale of good versus evil, light versus dark, and takes place on a fictional new continent far west of medieval England. It's a story that intertwines myths with reality during an apocalyptic time for the world. The story takes place during a Gothic Arthurian age where monsters of myth, this is really cool, isn't it, and legend were all too real, and the dawn of science was fast approaching. The novel will appeal to people who enjoyed things like Game of Thrones and The Witcher, Lord of the Rings, and other fantasy adventure novels, with a dark, foreboding tale that includes rich, believable characters and a setting within a historical backdrop of a grim world filled with horrors that lurk in the night. Now, R.A., the author, was born and raised in Las Vegas. He's been a fan of fantasy novels himself for almost as long as he can remember. And this is his very first novel, too. So we're excited to be debuting it here on the Jim Masters Show Live. The Dark Times saga, The Black Forest, is fueled by his fascination of the paranormal and the supernatural, including his love of ancient history and religions as well. And it was just recently released. So literally, this is coming to you hot off the presses, which is really, really exciting. So cool stuff. And we're very excited to have an opportunity to share this with you here on the show. And if you haven't had a chance again to pick up the book, you see it on the screen there, Dark Times Saga. It's in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. And there's R.A. as well. It's our pleasure to welcome him live and direct. Now, we are doing audio with RA. So if you're looking for his actual video, you won't see that in this particular interview, but you will see his picture and you will hear his voice live from Vegas. And he's not near the slot machines right now. RA, welcome to the show. It's great to have you with us.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
so much
joining
for
us.
having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. So, how have you been? How are you doing? Obviously, you've been very busy. You've been writing and writing during the pandemic too. So, for you, did the time during the pandemic offer you more time to really focus on this story and get this book out?
It actually kind of inspired it. I was having a lot of like everybody else in America, and around the world actually, you're dealing with depression and anxieties and stuff because things are very uncertain.
Yes.
So as a release, at the same time, unfortunately, my grandfather, he was suffering from dementia, and he was passing away in the care facility, and it was just, I mean, it was just really miserable for me. So I had to do something to kind of cut, the anxiety in half, I guess you could say. And he used to always to tell me that you're so full of it, you should write it down. So I started writing, and that's how it all began. I just started writing, and within a month, the manuscript was pretty much full, and from there I just went to editing. Yeah, so it's COVID was definitely a role in the creation of the novel. So
So, what was that writing process like for you, RA? When you first got started, obviously the pandemic gave you a little more time to really focus on it. So, how did you know how to get started, and what was that process like for you?
I just started. I actually got a program called Scrivener online. It's actually used by a lot of the bigger names out there, and I tried it, learned it. I had to go through a couple of tutorials, but as soon as I got comfortable with it, I just started putting the story together piece by piece. I usually start with like the beginning and the end, so I know
Right.
how I want the story to start, and I know how I want it to end, and then I just need to connect the two from there.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, everything you're doing, I watched a lot of tutorials and all, and it's true that everything that you're doing is leading to your process of writing. So, if you're watching movies, if you're going outside having experiences, it should be influencing and promoting your writing as to what you're going to do.
Now, have you always been a writer? Is this something that you've always, dabbled in and toyed with writing? And where did the initial inspiration to become a novelist come from for you, RA?
Well, becoming a novelist just actually came out of nowhere, really for me. I do write often. I did a lot of fan fiction for, TV shows, video games, stuff like that. Things that entertainment that I really like to ingest, I guess you could say. I'm a big gamer, and I love movies. But I would only like kind of dabble, and I used to do a lot of tabletop role playing, like Dungeons and Dragons and all that kind of like nerdy stuff when I was a kid, and I used to write stories for that. And this kind of was partially one of those stories that the characters used to play out. But I realized, I might as well just go full bore if I'm going to try and do something. And I said, I'm going to, try making a novel. And before I knew it, I'm looking at the word count and I'm already 110,000 words in, by the time I'm done. So I said, I might as well go for it and, just go full bore. And now I have 4 or 5 other novels in the works. I have a continuation of this series, as well as a Western I'm working on, a sci-fi I'm working on. I have even a one that I'm working on now that's kind of like during the golden age of pirates. It's kind of like a story that mixes like Pirates of the Caribbean and Waterworld.
Mm,
You
that's
know,
very cool, huh?
yeah. So I have a lot of stuff now. It's just getting out there. I think the biggest thing is just to get out there and do it. Is to just
Yes.
start it. Yeah. As
Yeah.
long as you start it and start pushing forward, you'll start gaining traction.
I mentioned, or at least you and I were talking before we went on the air with our show, that the RA in RA Revis, you're actually paying homage to somebody very special in your life that passed in recent months, huh?
Yes. Yes. My grandfather passed away during COVID, and I couldn't. We really couldn't do any kind of like memoriam for him or anything like that because there was limits and
Yeah.
mandates posted. But so I started writing, and I really didn't want to be out there. I'm not, I want to be successful. Obviously, everyone wants to be successful, but I wasn't necessarily looking for fame and recognition. So I said, I think I'm going to go under a pen name. And for months, I had no idea what kind of pen name I wanted to do. I had about 20 different names, and they all just seemed horrible. And then I thought to myself, I was looking at one of my favorite authors is R.A. Salvatore. He did The Demon Awakens, which is my favorite one of my all-time favorite novels. And he also does, a lot of books for Forgotten Realms, Juris Duorden and everything. I love those books. And then I thought, oh my God, I said, R.A. I said, and then I looked at my grandfather's picture, and his name is Robert Andrew Revis. So I said, you know what? I said, I think I'll go R.A. Revis. And it just sounded really good. Everyone loved it. And, everyone in my family and friends, they thought it was great. And it's my way of paying, homage to a man who, was my mentor and best friend. And,
Yeah.
he got dealt you know, a, a hard hand at the end of life. But he was a great guy, and he inspired me to do a lot. Inspired my creativity. He taught me how to bowl. I was almost actually there was a time when I was actually being scouted out to go into the amateur,
Oh, yeah.
semi-pro leagues.
Yeah,
When I was
sure.
young, and it was because of him. But he told me if you don't love something, don't do it. It's not worth doing.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so you enjoyed it, but it wasn't something that you necessarily loved, right?
No, it wasn't. I mean, I used to bowl with my friends. I used to love bowling on a team, and when you start going into the semi pros, you kind of have to go off on your own, and
Yeah.
you're challenging others, um, solo. And I told him, I said, well, I don't want to bowl without my friends. I like being with them. And he said, well, then, don't do it. And he said, stick with them and, and keep doing what you love. He says, that's the whole point of it. He says, it's not worth doing if you don't like it.
Exactly
So
right. Right, exactly. Keep doing what you love, and writing is something that obviously, is near and dear to your heart, and you've been doing it for a long time. Congratulations on
thank you.
the actual novel itself. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about, obviously, it has a lot of incredible nuances to it, and it's cool how it sort of plays off your own personal fascination that you have for the paranormal and sci-fi and supernatural and things like that. How did all of that fascination influence your writing this novel, RA?
Well, I've always been interested in the supernatural and paranormal and stuff like that, and especially like ancient civilizations and ancient religions and all. And one thing I did notice that was quite common in many of the religions that I read was there was a tree, You know, in many of them, there was a tree going all the way back to Samaria. You know, the first civilization, there was a tree in it. You know, in the Christian religion, you have the tree of good and evil. In the Norse religion, you had the tree of Yggdrasil. So I said, you know, I think a tree would be kind of like a good bad guy in a way. I said, you know, maybe an entity that has been around since the beginning of time, since before man was man and created, and was kind of a rival to God that wanted, you know, it wasn't strong enough to take him on head on, but, you know, was upset that Earth was taken away from them. And they wanted to take it over again. So in order for them to do that, it would be to get rid of humanity. So I came up with the idea that an entity comes into the world, disguises itself as a giant tree that starts taking on its own form of you know, twisted life, and it starts manipulating everything around it. It starts manipulating, you know, everyone from the lords to the peasants to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts you know, really pushing its own agenda. And as long as it is, you know, it feeds on death and misery and pain. So as long as it gets death, misery, and pain, it's happy. And, you know, during 14th century, you know, England and the medieval era, there was plenty to go around. You know, you had the Black Plague, you had the 100-Year War, you had everything that it could ever want during that time, especially because, you know, lords and ladies back then were very fickle. They were fighting over land, and, you know, almost every institution that was there was corrupt to some point. So it was just very easy for, you know, this entity to slide in and start, you know, literally placing its roots where it needed to get things done. And the book covers a lot of that. I think the book's one of the biggest themes is corruption, how human institutions are very vulnerable to corruption. We kind of, it sneaks in underneath us and we don't see it until it's already happened. So that was one of the biggest themes for me was corruption. Then I also had faith and family in there as well. But yes, the paranormal has always been near and dear to me, and my grandfather as well. And there's a lot of themes in the book that cover it. There's, you know, it starts off a little bit dark and scary, but then it moves into adventure and comedy. And, you know, I'm told that there's a character in there, Brahmislav, who is actually a Danish Slav. He's, you know, I call him a little mutt, he was a mutt like my grandfather. He has ancestors all over, and he's kind of like the comic relief, the anti-hero. Anti-heroes are kind of near and dear to me too. You know, I've always loved the anti-hero. You know, like the Jack Sparrows, the Punishers, the, you know, characters like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's you know, that's one of the big things for me to have in the book is to make my own anti-hero.
So it's also, you know, weaves in and out of this, as I said in the introduction, this tale of good versus evil, light versus dark, and it takes place on that fictional new continent far west of medieval England. Tell us about that whole, like you're alluding a little bit to it now, the good versus evil and the light versus dark scenario that you paint within the novel.
So it takes place west of England on a continent I call Vosgavia. It's very dark, kind of like Gothic continent, very, very lush, kind of like a Pacific Northwest, you know, up in Washington. It's very green, beautiful, but at the same time, it's host to many, many deadly things. And that's well established in the book. There are many characters that, you know, meet their demise by setting foot in the wrong area or something, like, you know, they tangle with the wrong thing at the wrong time, and that's it, you know. And the
real life is sort of like that sometimes too.
Oh yeah, you walk down the wrong alleyway and same thing happens, you know.
Or just drive on the highway.
Yeah, driving on the highway, yeah. But
Take
yeah,
your life in your hands.
exactly. Driving on the freeway out here is like Mad Max Fury Road now. You
Oh,
know, I mean,
Vegas? Yeah.
yeah, oh yeah, it's crazy. But the dark, I think the dark versus light and the good versus evil really comes from because the entity is a corrupting influence, a very very evil. Again, it feeds on. I believe that there are entities that feed on energy. You know, the negative energy, positive energy, and they kind of promote that. You know,
Yeah.
they want that to happen so that it's like how we reap and sow fields. You know, they do the same thing. And so this entity is trying to, which later on you'll learn her name. There's a lot of twists and turns and stuff like that. Everyone calls her the mother. The thing, she starts
Yeah.
building her own cult, and you start learning that the two there's a bloodline, a very specific bloodline that she does not like, that needs to be
Mm.
eradicated in order for her to pretty much seal her place on Earth. And as long as she gets rid of that bloodline, again, we go into that as well. It goes through, it goes through the Arthurian mythos, as well as, it goes through some uh, Slavic mythos as well. It intertwines all of them into one thing. And it really comes down to humanity versus this corrupting, manipulative, destructive force that they're now having to stand up against. And it comes down to essentially four heroes that come together as almost a makeshift family. And they're common people. They don't have superpowers. They can't fly. They don't shoot lightning out of their fingers or anything like that. But they use their brains, brawn, and wits to handle what they need to handle. And it just shows that, as long as, I think the theme there was, family sometimes easily becomes friends, and friends easily becomes family. Our relationships change over the course of our lifetime, and people who, you thought you could trust, you can't, and people who you weren't sure about suddenly become very close to you.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the whole dynamic of friends and family in there. And
Is there an overall message you think that you are trying to share with people? A lot of times when you read a book, a novel, watch a movie, listen to music, go to a play, watch a TV show, whatever it is, sometimes the creator, or in this case, the author, has an underlying message of sorts. I mean, there's a story, there's the entertainment value, but sometimes there's a message, teachable moments, something to be learned through the actual art form itself, through the actual creation of the novel, the dynamics of relationships, the dynamics of the good versus the evil, the dynamics of do the right thing, and other little lessons that are sort of not necessarily in your face, but are just meandered there. Obviously, people will take what they do from the novel and they'll relate to it in their own ways. They'll be like, "Oh my God, that's what my day at work is like," or something. They'll always find different
mhm.
connections to it. But sometimes, again, the creator has something underneath that they're hoping to pass along while people are being entertained. They're also, learning about life in different ways and how to handle it.
Oh, absolutely. There is, and I would say that there's multiple lessons that you could pull from it. I try not to be a little bit too preachy about the entire book. I don't want to push any certain agenda. My first and foremost objective was just to entertain people. I think that we're all going through a really hard time now, and we could just use something to turn off our brains and read and enjoy. If there's a big lesson to it, it would be, faith and family, sticking together with one another to help you get through the difficult times, which is exactly what the heroes of the story do. They just keep pushing through and sticking together. Another one I would say is people were laughing. One person said, "Well, it kind of shows you that these four heroes don't need a king or a queen because they're very independent of the feudal system. You know, they have their own land. They're farming and cultivating. They're, you know, defending themselves. As a matter of fact, when bad things happen, they're called upon to help others. And it kind of says they're so independent that even, you know, this feudal system needs them more than they need it. And I think independence is another big thing that I push in the book is, you know, learning as much as you can so that you're independent and you can stand on your own 2 feet. I think that's very important. Someone told me that they summed up the book to be, you know, like no kings or queens, you know, that we don't need kings or queens.
Right.
And I said, you could take it that way. I mean, again, like all art, it's very you know, you can interpret it in different ways, and people will. I'm sure there's going to be 100 different interpretations of the book, but I think the biggest thing would be is faith and family sticking together and trying to just get through. You know, if you know the old saying, if you're at the end of your rope, tie a knot and hold on.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest things that stuck with me. And I think that's what we need to do right now during you know the COVID, the hard times that are hitting us. And
how have you dealt with it? How have you been able to get through and stay creative, collaborative, connected? And I usually say to the guests, sane. And usually they'll say, Jim, get back to me on the sane part. I'm still working on that part.
Yeah, especially right now. It is good though. I go for rides, which is really good. You know, we went for rides. We would go down to Dutch Brothers and we would get a drink. And my mother and we would take our little dog, who my grandfather had kind of left to us because when he got so ill he could no longer take care of the little guy. I kind of adopted him and took over him. And he has a little cameo in the book. He's called Rowdy in the book. Yeah, he's called Rowdy in the book. The next book, he has a much bigger part to play in some of the scenes. But we used to go for a ride down the strip, and I remember it was just so bleak and terrible when we went down during the shutdown. I mean, the strip, I've never ever seen the strip in 40 years of my life like that. It was dark. There was literally no one there. The only thing, you would see a police vehicle there every once in a while and security officers patrolling, but for the most part there was no one. And then you started seeing little sprinklings of life, which I thought was great. You know, you started seeing like literally these bicycle groups. I call them biker gangs, but they were literally people on bicycles that just got together to have fun and just started riding down the strip. So we're driving down the strip. They're ringing their bells on their bike. We're honking our horn at each other, saying hi, and, you know, just kind of having a little chat while we're at a light or something. And then now it looks like it's back to normal. You know, I mean, it looks like nothing ever happened.
Wow.
And it just seems like you know, kind of like in nature when there's a forest fire, it's, you know, everything is burned and destroyed and it's gone and you can't, you know, it just looks so bleak. But then you start to notice little sproutlings popping out of the ashes. And you see the same thing happen, you know, on the strip. Slowly but surely things were popping up here and there. People were starting to show up. And then when the lockdown ended, it just immediately sprouted again. I mean, it just exploded with life again. And I thought that was really inspiring to see that, you know, humans are a lot more difficult to get rid of than you know, we suspect. We're like the cockroaches of the universe. You stomp on one of us and 30 of us are gonna appear somewhere else. So yeah, we're pretty resilient, and I'm pretty proud of that. I'm pretty proud of humanity for being resilient and steadfast. And I, like you said, jokes about sane. I think if you're sane, it's a detriment. You have to have a little bit of craziness in you to survive some of these things, and it's
you really do. Otherwise, yeah, a lot of you know, comedy and other forms of art, you know, does derive from interesting observations of life and unusual moments, and sometimes comes from sadness, from dark places, from anxiety, depression, rough times. Sometimes some of the work is expressed, you know, through the art from those experiences in life as well. And an outpouring of creativity results in music and painting and sculpture and books and a
Oh,
whole host of
absolutely.
different things, which is really cool. It's really amazing. They say that people have been saying that the book leaves you breathless and waiting for book two as it
Yes.
takes you into your mind. So you sort of you're allowing people to sort of come into your world through the Dark Times Saga of the Black Forest, huh?
Yes. If you know me, if you have a personal relationship with me, you will recognize quite a bit of things in the book. You'll notice little pieces of me here and there, all throughout the novel. The name Roan itself, he plays one of the main protagonists, and the name Roan, my friend, I'm sure when he sees this, I haven't talked to him in like probably, I don't know, 10 years, but he used to be a D&D buddy of mine. And when he sees that, he's just going to laugh because he's going to immediately recognize that name. Yeah, there's little sprinklings, personal experiences, both good and bad, that inspired this book that I've been through, both good times and bad. And I really do agree with that. All the greatest comedians say that comedy comes from a dark place, and a lot of it comes from a dark place. But, I've always said, tragedy shouldn't define you. It should refine you. It should change you for the better. Should kind of like harden you to these experiences. There's a book in the chapter called "The Shield Does Not Make Itself," and the kind of point of that is there's an analogy that I use quite often is that a shield, let's take for instance Captain America's shield. It's completely resilient, but before that shield can do what it needs to do, it needs to be hammered, it needs to be burned, and then it needs to finally be drowned before it can take on all of these terrible things that it needs to take on and protect us from. And I think that that's kind of like us, in an analogy. It's the same thing that we have to go through. So all these horrible things that we're going through now, we're going to learn from, and they're going to
Yes.
inspire art. There's people out there. I went to an author fair and they wrote books of poetry from this. So I mean, beauty does come from the suffering and the pain.
It's very
So
true.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people have been inspired to create and to stay connected. The book itself, I mean, a terrific cover. We're looking at the cover now. Um, Tell us about this fantastic cover to the book, to the novel.
Well, Brighton Publishing was, very, very kind with me. They went out and they sought out a bunch of different cover artists for me and decided, they said, here, we're going to show you what they have, and then you can go from there and see who you like. And this was actually from a young lady in the Ukraine. And I told them, I said, I want the book to pop. The book has to, like, if you're walking by it in Barnes and Noble, it has to, like, literally jump out and grab you and say, what am, look to see what I am.
Right.
And I think it does that phenomenally. I wanted it simple, but at the same time, I wanted it to kind of be a forewarning of what the reader was going to get into. I wanted the tree to be extremely haunting. I actually, before I had the book cover, I told him I wanted to use the inspiration for, I don't know if you're familiar with the Devil's Tower.
Oh yeah.
It was a big thing for, Encounters of the Fifth Kind, I believe it was, with Richard Dreyfuss. They're actually there are rumors that they were doing ground surveys and that the Devil's Tower has a root system, supposedly. I don't know if this is true or factual or not. I haven't checked on it, but I just thought, wow, that would really be something if that was actually a dead tree that this tower was. So that's kind of what I based, the tree here on the front cover is it's not completely mature yet. Later on, when it's mature, it could rival, the medieval city of England, in its size. But yeah, I love the faces in it. It just shows that the cover tells you what you're getting into. This tree feeds on misery, pain, and of course, there's a mysterious figure that's standing in front of it. That you learn who that is throughout the book as well. It came as a shock to many people. Actually, I thought they were going to see the red herring a mile away, but yeah, they actually did not see a lot of the twists and turns that were coming, and I was really happy about that. Especially my beta readers. My beta readers did not see the twists and turns, and there are some main characters. There are some prominent characters who end up meeting their demise. They didn't see that coming. So, I took R.R. Martin's work, and I took something. I believe he said character's death should resound throughout the world. It should start ripples. And I took that to heart, and that's absolutely true. So when a character dies, it's for it's for a reason in the book. Something's going to be altered by that death. So, and I wanted that to be displayed in the tree as it was on the cover.
You did a really nice job with that. It's amazing that the tree. What again would you say that the tree really is representing? That particular tree on the cover.
I would say everything that it really preys on our weaknesses. It talks a lot about how we were given free will, and free will, not only is it a great thing for us, but it's also been our downfall, and it exploits that.
Yeah.
So it takes our positives, the positive of free will, and then it turns it into a negative because it starts planting little seeds of, well, you need more money. You should do this to get more money and keep chasing more money. Oh, well, you know what? That person doesn't really love you. You should take out revenge on this person and everything. And it starts planting seeds of these negative emotions to us. So I think that the tree really represents kind of like all of the darker things that lurk behind humanity. Sure, it takes a physical form that's kind of a monster, but at the same time, it's also very kind of like an emotional and spiritual war as well that the people are fighting on this continent. Especially as the tree starts growing in power, it becomes more mental and spiritual on these people. They're always afraid. They don't know when something's going to happen next. And it starts. They're kind of waiting for the metaphorical boot to drop.
Right.
The other boot to drop, and it just gets very hard on them and taxing on them.
Mm. So how did you know when to put the period on the last sentence and wrap that novel up? Because sometimes you can really get into it so much where it's hard to cap it, hard to know when to conveniently and smoothly, logically wrap that up. How did you know when to do that? And did you leave it open in a way so that way there is an ongoing series?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. On the end of the book, there's absolutely a cliffhanger. There's no question about that. There's multiple cliffhangers. I wrap up a lot of stuff that happened in the book because I don't want, I didn't want there to be any kind of questions of like, well, what's going on with this and this and this. And so they do wrap up everything, and everything seems to be going great and wonderful. And then new problems arise. And it definitely leaves the book as an open cliffhanger telling people, to be continued. One of the ways that I knew to basically stop writing was, well, first of all, I did immense research on writing while I was writing this book. I wanted to know, what is the average word count? I looked at Sapkowski's work in The Witcher. I looked at Martin's book in Game of Thrones. And I was comparing, how many pages do they have? How many chapters do they have? How many words are to a chapter? I looked up Martin's novels constantly and saw that, he ranges from 3,000 to 5,000 words. Some of his chapters are 7,000 words. So I was just kind of going by that. But at the same time, I also kind of broke away from, the act 1, 2, 3 kind of method, of writing. A lot of people say, okay, well, you have act 1, which is your opening. You have act 2, which say, your apex of where they start seeing all the problems. And then act 3 starts going downhill.
Right.
Well, my book kind of goes in kind of like a roller coaster kind of motion. There's some straight ways where, you're laughing and enjoying everything. And then there's some where, one woman who was reading the book told me that she was literally sitting on the edge of her seat reading during one of the battle scenes because she didn't know if there was no telling who's going to survive. Things were very overwhelming, and it seemed like things were going downhill very fast, and they didn't know what was going on. So I try and I don't really want to go into a formula of writing. I like to keep things always fluid and moving. But yeah, I was getting up there in the word count, and I noticed that. So there's actually quite a bit that was cut from this book. There were certain characters and situations that were cut from this novel that will be making an appearance in number 2. And it was just because at the time I was like, I have to establish the main protagonist, and then I'm going to start introducing new heroes and new characters, new storylines all throughout that. And I really didn't want this to be, an 800-page tome for people to read. I wanted them to be, I wanted them to, whittle away at it. Yeah, I wanted them to be able to whittle away at it, during lunch or, when they're, unfortunately right now, a lot of them, some of them sitting in the hospital, they could sit there with their loved one and read it out loud to their loved ones. It was just something that they could enjoy, have fun with. And that's when I said, I got to keep it down, and I'm going to keep it around the same page length for all of them. I have 3 others that are already planned. I may do more. I have a sequel to this book, then I'm going to have a prequel, and then I'm thinking after the prequel, I'm going to have the finale, but I'm not sure right now if it's the finale. I'm not 100% positive on that. I have to see how the other books flow and how the story unfolds and stuff like that, and what needs to be done in it, so.
What's been the feedback so far? I know the book is just recently out at the time of this broadcast, this episode of the Jim Master Show Live, but for folks who have picked up a copy and have read through it so far, RA, what has been some of the feedback coming in?
They seem very happy with it. I'm very, I'm very blessed. They're very into the book. Actually, many people who picked up the book and read it, excuse me, they're not really into this sort of genre. I had a lot of people who says, well, I usually only read biographies, and autobiographies. And they read this book and they said, one lady said, I'm not into this genre. And she says, now I'm furious that I have to wait until next year for the next book.
You got them hooked.
Yeah, she's like, you left it on there was satisfaction in the book of certain things were handled that needed to be handled, but I added again towards the end of the book, I added new problems that they need to overcome. There's new revelations that come out that suddenly the reader is in on now, and this is kind of a book that you may want to read again because there's certain, for instance, there's a chapter called Of Mice and Men. And one of the feedback was, I didn't understand why you called it Of Mice and Men until I got to like one of the final chapters. Then that chapter's name made sense. So there's certain things that won't be, reading it a second time, you'll see many, many different things in a different light. Knowing what you'll kind of see things from my perspective as opposed to a reader perspective. You'll see it as from a writer perspective of where I was going with it. So I think that'll be really fun for people. But for the most part, it's been very positive. I've been blessed. They're very happy with it. And again, it's not like the first thing that I've ever written. I've written a lot of stuff, but this is probably the first thing that I've ever actually published professionally.
Do you have another long-term goal, RA? We're talking about obviously the series of these books continuing, but do you see any of this coming to the small or large screen, or hoping that
I
somebody
would love
sees it?
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love that. I mean, I look at The Witcher right now, the production value of The Witcher, Game of Thrones, many books that are coming to. I mean, of course, the beautiful thing about writing is your budget is unlimited. You
Yeah.
know, I could have an armada of spaceships attacking a planet and the story happening on ground, you know, for pennies on the dollar. But during a TV show or a movie, that's going to cost millions,
Yeah.
you know, to have it done. But yeah, I would love it. You know, I'm not even that hard pressed for even live action. I mean, live action would be phenomenal. I do have some of the characters already. You know, when I start making characters, I kind of have real world actors playing them in my mind.
Yeah.
So, you know, I do kind of have the cast and crew already planned out for those. But also, I think there's great stuff going on with, like, you know, the animation is catching on out here like it was in Japan. You know, anime out in Japan is just an art form for multiple genres. You know, there's horror, there's action, there's comedy. And you're starting to see that a lot more out here in the Western culture. You're starting to see, you know, there's a lot of different animated films that are coming out that are based on books, movies, games that are kind of catching on and doing really well. You know, like Attack on Titan is a big one that just kind of like started really boosting that. So yeah, absolutely. I have plans. You know, I have a manager, a business manager now. I never thought I would say that. And I constantly pester him 7 days a week with, you know, pitches and ideas and stuff. And he's like, these sound great. You know, I had a pitch for Ghostbusters. You know, I know he's coming out with another movie, and I had a pitch for a video game for him. I think that he would enjoy. You know, that maybe Dan Aykroyd would want to take a look at.
Mm.
But yeah, I have tons of ideas. I have no shortage of ideas for movies, television shows, and not just for this actual specific series. It's all over. You know, I have something brewing a little bit even that I was thinking about for Knight Rider. You know, because I noticed, you know, a lot of the greats from the 80s and 90s are coming back.
Yeah,
In
they're
new
rebooting
forms.
or new
Yeah.
versions, right?
Yeah, so I have a lot of stuff up my sleeve that I keep kind of sending to my manager, and he's like, all right, he's like, these sound great. He's like, let's, you know, right now we're gonna hold on to this book though. You know, the book's only been out for a month. He's
Right.
like, yeah,
And
and
you're
I'm
already
like,
looking at, come on, you don't have book
I'm
deal,
already
you don't have
chomping at
movie
the bit.
deals yet. Come on,
Yeah,
this isn't a Broadway play yet.
I'm the horse. I'm the horse that's in the race who's kicking his pen, who wants to just be let go already. You know.
Yeah.
I'm not, like I said, I'm not looking for huge fame and fortune. That's not really me. I'm kind of an introvert, but I do want to be successful. I think everybody wants to be successful, and I like, you know, entertaining people. I like making them laugh. I like making them think. I think that that's something that I was kind of given a God-given talent of.
This whole
Uh,
process might bring out a little of the extroverted side eventually.
I
People might recognize, wait, this is RA. I thought he was a little more introverted. Look at him now. He's on stage. He's here. He's there.
I don't know. I'd have to see. I mean, I used to, before I became a caretaker, an in-home caretaker. I was an in-home caretaker for about 10 years.
Beautiful job. Yeah.
And yeah, I was blessed to be able to take care of my grandmother when she was going through her problems, and then my grandfather later on after she passed. I was, you know, taking care of him for a bit before he had to go into a care service. He got dementia. But I was a salesperson. Yeah.
So you
For
had to be out there and
Yeah, I
yeah.
was always in front of people, and I was very extroverted. I had to go out there and sell, and I was actually a dog trainer for PetSmart.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
believe it or not, yeah, I was a dog trainer for PetSmart. So about weird jobs, you never know where life's going to take you. You know, one day you're training dogs, and the next day you're doing a talk show because you wrote a novel. You know, that has
Isn't that
nothing to
something?
do with dog training. Yeah. So it's really interesting. It's a interesting ride to see where this may go and where this may lead. And Actually, I have to admit, I would not have known about Brighton Publishing if it wasn't for a text or a thing on Twitter that I saw. I was looking through the live feeds, and um, Antonio Sabato Jr. was talking about publishing his book. I said, "Oh wow!" I said he published. I was like, I wonder because I had query letters out to like 50 people.
Did you really?
Yeah, 50. I've heard back from 4 to this date. I've heard back probably from like 4 of them. And I think that really COVID really, clogged everything up. I think I would have heard back from more, yes or no's at the very least, if we weren't really, all clogged up with the COVID issues and all. But I sent it into Brighton Publishing, and Tony Moore went over it, and he said, do you have? He went over my pitch, and he said, well, do you have a full manuscript? And I said, yeah. I said, it's completely done. He says, well, send that over to me and I'll go over it. And an agonizing month, almost a month later, Tony said, yeah, we're interested. Let's talk and, see where this goes. And I almost passed out in the living room. My mother was laughing because I looked at my email and I was actually just looking for an agent.
Yeah.
I literally have everything except an agent now. And the first thing I was looking for was an agent. Everyone said, oh, you have to get a literary agent first.
Literary, yeah.
Yeah, they said, you have to get one first. And right now I have a publicist, I have cover artists, I have PR agents, I have managers, I have all that. And I still don't have an agent yet. But I have everything else.
Never say never, right? That may
that's what I said
soon.
You never know. I'm hoping. Here's the hoping. Yeah, it's been an interesting ride, and I was blessed to come across Brighton Publishing, and they put me up the front and forefront, and they were really taking care of me, and they got my my book all the attention that it needed, and I was pretty happy. I was very happy about that. So very blessed in that aspect.
Is there any character in the book that has elements of RA in it?
Oh gosh, there's 3.
There's 3.
There's 3. Yeah. There's Roan, the young scribe, who I would say I identify with the most. He's very timid of the world. He kind of just wants to hide behind his books, and he's kind of a watcher. He just watches events unfold around him, and then he writes about them and stuff, journals about them and all. I'd say I identify with him. Garrett the Templar is the person that I think every man growing up, they want to be that stoic, they want to be that strong person that everyone comes to and looks to. But Brahmaslav is probably everyone who we secretly wish we could be. Brahm has no boundaries. He does what he wants. I mean, he's a good guy and everything, but at the same time, he says what's on his mind. He doesn't worry about, padding people's, egos or anything like that. Like, for instance, he literally says to a baron, you're screwing up. He's like, you're not doing what you need to do. You're acting like an idiot. And he gets away with it mainly because he's just, I guess they say badass, I guess the guy, he can wreck it with the best of them. And, everyone. So I think those 3 are the, who I am, who I wish I could be, and who I want to be. So I think those are the 3 main characters there that are kind of like little, different avatars of myself at different points in time.
And that's again where the relatability comes in, because there might be others who read the book and they see those 3 elements of themselves that they can identify with in those characters as you present them.
Oh, absolutely. And Ayla is an amalgam of she's another main character, and Ayla is an amalgam of all the strong women that I've known. My mother, my grandmother, friends, family, everything. Women that I've known through my years. And Ayla is very independent, very strong. She's very strong-willed. She has a Scottish accent. And again, if you know me, you'll see where certain things have fed into, Ayla. You'll know, I know where he got the, the Scottish Celtic accent. I know where he got the look of her, and stuff like that. but yeah, they're all pretty much. I think that there's a lot of relatable characters in there. There's people who are ambitious. There's people who are quiet and timid, yet at the same time they have their own agendas. There's a lot of stuff in there I think that people will actually connect with. It's funny, I'm already getting yelled at, like how Martin was yelled at to not kill certain characters of his thing. People are telling me, please don't kill this character in the next book. Please don't kill this character in the next book. And I told him, I said, I don't just do it for shock value. It has to add something to the story. It has to send shockwaves throughout the world. I just think it's funny that people are getting connected to the characters already, and I'm pretty happy about that. That makes me feel good as a writer that, they're getting attached to characters that I created.
Isn't that amazing? That's sort of the gravy to all of this. You're writing it because you enjoy and you love it and it's your passion, but then it connects with people on levels that are deeper, and then they actually grow close to the characters and start to care for and root for the characters themselves, right?
Oh yes. And it's funny, they even get disappointed in certain characters.
Sure.
Like they're people. They tell me, I'm so disappointed that this and this person did this. They said, I can't believe that they would suddenly just, do that. And I mean, they're like, I understand why they did it, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, I mean, it's the characters are just as flawed. Our heroes are just as flawed as we are. They're trying to overcome their flaws as well as all of the trials and tribulations that are happening in the world. And
right.
I think it's a very human story. It's not like a, I mean, a lot of people love Marvel because of how powerful the figures are, and stuff. But at the same time, they're not, I wouldn't say human stories, because I can't relate to a guy who's a multi-billionaire who flies in a suit of armor. I love the guy who doesn't love Tony Stark. But this one's a little, I wanted to, it's a fantasy story with a historic backdrop that I wanted to be a little bit more grounded in reality and stuff. And when I say it's like Lord of the Rings, there's that camaraderie in there that the Fellowship of the Rings had, that friendship and family that soon, they went from being strangers that were on a journey that they really didn't even want to do, to suddenly becoming family that now they didn't want to be separated. And you kind of get that in the story as well. The four heroes, they're kind of unsure about certain things of one another, and if they can trust and rely on one another. They've never really been tested like this before. And then, you start seeing their relationships as well as their characters evolve and become new things.
That's really cool. And that's the truth to it. The evolution of the characters is very important to all of this. And you see that. And, it does sound like there's a lot of different teachable moments in this novel. And again, people are already excited, RA, for the continuation. They're like, okay, I want more. It becomes like a feeding frenzy. It's almost like a daytime soap opera where, they're following it for years, and they're following the next one and the next one and the next one, or any of the trilogies or any of the, different series on television, films. And you never know, this could lead to something along those lines, here's
hoping and praying, and I pray that it will. And the biggest thing is
right now. This genre is very in right now too.
Yeah, it's been picking up. I mean, they're having a Lord of the Rings TV show on Amazon. I'm stoked. I can't wait for that. I'm like totally nerding out about that. Willow, I don't know if you're familiar with the movie Willow. It is apparently getting a reboot and a television show, and I'm so depressed because I would have loved to have been on that. Willow is probably one of my top 2, top 3 all-time movies. It was a big movie for me when I was growing up as a kid. A lot of stuff is coming up now. And again, like I have other things as well. It's not just the fantasy. I I have a book that I'm writing now. That's a Western. It's kind of a mix of like Hell on Wheels and Stranger Things.
Mm.
So it's there's a lot of stuff out there, that I can appeal to. But yeah, I'm hoping at least the good things, and I'm not definitely not against it. I mean, someone comes up to me and says, "Let's talk." I mean, I'm not going to
That's
tell them
it.
to pound dirt. So
I can answer that phone right away. Absolutely.
yeah,
Clear the
so
lines, clear the lines. The book itself, where can people find the book?
where right now wherever books are sold,
Yeah.
I'm blessed
Amazon,
with
Barnes and Noble.
Amazon, Barnes and Noble, um, I think Walmart, wherever you can buy a book, I think you can find it. We're a pretty great distribution right now,
That's
so I'm very
terrific.
happy about that. Yeah, Brenton was phenomenal with the distribution, so I'm really happy. And it seems to be doing relatively well, because I just got to think. We were going to do the hardcover for, I think, a month or so, and for the initial release, and I just got word. Well, you know what? We're gonna do the hardcover for a little bit longer.
Wow.
I was like, okay. I was like, that sounds good. I was like, and another thing is I'm blessed because I I'm unknown. Nobody knows who. And now all of a sudden I just kind of like popped out of nowhere, and everyone's like, "Oh, what's this?" And yeah, it's doing very well, and I feel very blessed and very fortunate to have these people that go out. I know right now, especially, things can be tough and things can be tight for them, and they go out and some of the money they spend is something I created, and that makes me feel very humble and very blessed, and I appreciate every penny that they're sending my way, because I know they work hard for it, and that it's very things can be difficult right now. So yeah, that makes me feel great. That's why I said whenever anyone buys it, I have people who I go to Dutch Brothers, and they come out with their book and they're like, "Will you sign it?"
Yeah.
And I'm more than happy to sign it, and sit and chat with them for a little bit, because I know they spent their money on it, and they deserve a little bit of one-on-one time, and at least, and at least getting a signature. So I hope that's one thing I hope to never lose, is the
Right.
humility. I told my mother, if I ever start getting too big, you have more than enough permission to smack me around or do
Yeah.
something with me. And
What's
you
her
know
reaction been to all of this?
she's same same great woman who raised me. She's very supportive of me, and she said, it seems like this is what you're supposed to do. Because I was trying, when my grandfather went into the home, I was trying to find a job, and everybody was like, "Well, you've been out of work for like 10 years." And I said, "Well, I was a home caretaker." I said, "It's not like, I was playing the banjo on the street or something like that. That I didn't want to work. It was just that I had other priorities at the time."
Family, yeah.
And yeah, and they were like, "Well, and a lot of people like led me on. They're like, 'Oh yeah, 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 we'll give you a call. You're phenomenal. You're great. You're gonna fit this role.'" And I haven't heard back from them since. 6-7 months down the road. Um, but I think that was all as kind of like a precursor to push me towards this,
Yeah.
because it just came together so quickly and swiftly. And I talked to other independent authors out there, and they're just in shock. Like, how did that all that happen? And that's why I'm more than happy. Right now I'm in the works. I'm trying to get some. I'm going to start doing free workshops at the local libraries, as like community outreach, help people getting published, and help them with their writing problems. And I know a lot of people talk about writer's block,
Mm.
um, but so I want to kind of give back, and keep my humility, and remember where I came from through all this. But right now, yeah, it's been pretty phenomenal. It's been great. I'm having fun, and
That's
I'm
the
blessed to
key.
have.
That's the key to
Yeah.
it all, right? Got to have fun doing it. It's got to be something that you
Oh
love,
yeah, I'm just
you
so
know?
happy with everyone. So yeah, I'm so blessed to have the people that I do, that come up to me and talk to me about the book and everything. So I'm
Hmm.
very happy about that.
Well, this is fantastic. And congratulations again
Thank you.
on the book for those who are wanting to know what are these guys talking about in case you joined us late. It's the Dark Times Saga, The Black Forest, and it's available again, Barnes& and Noble, Walmart, Amazon. You can Look for it. R.A. Revis is the author. He penned it all. And this is just the beginning for him as a novelist, with more he's already shared with us here on the Jim Masters Show Live that is coming down the pike. So if you pick up this one and you fall in love with it, there you can bank on that there's more on the way that he's penning right now. R.A., this was terrific. I hope you enjoyed the time with me and with us, our lovely viewers watching around the world, and the show met whatever expectations you had. And
Oh, it's phenomenal. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. And we'll definitely have you back. We'll keep you that porch light on for you. And I wish you a lot of continued success with this book and all the others that you have set up, ready to come down the pike to entertain us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Thanks for joining us on the episode, and the YouTube link, you'll be able to share that when it's airing, and let people know about it. And even after this airing, you'll be able to share it again, and people can watch this episode again on our YouTube channel at Jim Masters TV.
Phenomenal.
Thanks, R.A. You're the best, and it was a pleasure.
Thank you.
All right. You enjoy, and you take care. And as I say to all the guests, now go get the circulation going and go stretch those legs.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We chatted for a little over an hour, and didn't seem that. It seemed like it was 20 minutes.
It flew by. Yeah, it flew
Didn't
by.
it?
Yeah, that was good.
All the guests say that too. You take care and be well out there in Vegas, okay?
You too. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye now. R.A. Revis is our very special guest here on this episode of the Jim Masters Show Live, entertainment lifestyle talk show series. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for being with us. I just want to let you know that here's that book again if you'd like to see it. There it is. You can get it again at Barnes & Noble and Amazon and Walmart and all the places where books are sold. And thanks to everybody watching all around the world. We appreciate you too. Our lovely viewers who watch literally from all corners of the globe, the United States and Canada, Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia. It really is amazing. And we hope you're having a great day. And again, if you're not, you know, this is the place to continue to come to be entertained and inspired, informed, educated. And we always have a lot of laughs too. So we're going to wrap up this episode of the Jim Masters Show Live Entertainment Lifestyle Talk Show series. Always a pleasure having you guys here. There's a couple of things we do before we officially wrap up. We always say, don't forget to smile. Don't forget to share the lovity. Don't forget to find your Zen place. Mine, of course, the ocean, swimming, surfing, boogie boarding, sailing. We live here along the coast, the east coast of the United States and the Northeast, in the greater New York, New Jersey, Connecticut tri-state area, along the scenic southern New England coast between New York and Boston. And swimming, surfing, boogie boarding, sailing, floating in it. You got to drag me out of the ocean. So find your Zen place. Obviously, R.A. is Zen when he's writing, and he is creating characters and sharing with us. Of course, my work in television, radio, multimedia, stage, and film throughout the years is another Zen place for me as well. So find your Zen place and find your bliss and share it with the world. You're watching the Jim Masters Show Live Entertainment Lifestyle Talk Show series right here on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV, a channel dedicated to entertaining, informing, educating, and inspiring. Now, if you haven't subscribed to it, we would absolutely love, or that's absolutely, we would love if you could do that. And don't forget to click that notification bell too. It's really important that you do that, so that way there you never miss any of our live episodes or our special episodes, our, let's see, on location episodes, our pop-up shows, and everything else that we do here on the Jim Masters Show Live Entertainment Lifestyle Talk Show series. Thanks for being with us, gang. You guys are truly the best. We really do love you all. We think you guys are just amazing. And all the outpouring of support for this series too. All your action and comments on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, all at Jim Masters TV, and of course our YouTube channel, sharing the links and telling everybody about our series. We've done some 450 shows thus far daily, and it's just truly extraordinary. And I hope you guys are enjoying them. Spread the word, share the levity about the Jim Master Show Live. We will catch you on the next one. You enjoy, you take care. And again, we love you all. And thanks for being with us on this episode of the Jim Master Show Live. We'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.